Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tackling what is honestly one of the most notoriously intimidating parts of the whole academic process. Yep, writing the introduction. If you've ever struggled to get a research paper off the ground, well, you're in the right place. We're going to explore the CARS model. It's essentially the ultimate architectural blueprint for conquering academic writing and setting up your research for absolute success. Because, we all know the feeling, right? You've done all the reading, you've crunched the data, and now you're just sitting there staring at a blinking cursor on a glaring white screen. That blank page, it is literally the ultimate villain of academia. It's paralyzing. And why? Because an introduction carries so much weight. It's got to hook the reader, explain the background, justify your work, and map out the entire paper. But hey, what if you didn't have to guess how to put it all together? What if there was a proven, tested formula? Well, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the introduction dilemma, then break down 3 strategic moves: claiming territory, finding a niche, and occupying the space. And finally, we'll wrap up with a really handy pro tip on neutral contrasting. So let's get into it. Section 1, the introduction dilemma, the blank page. Enter the CARS model. This stands for creating a research space. The concept was developed by a scholar named John Swales. He basically analyzed a massive variety of journal articles across a bunch of different disciplines, and he realized something huge. Successful authors, they weren't just randomly typing out background information. No, they were following a highly specific organizational pattern. Now sure, creating a research space sounds like a bit of academic jargon, but at its core, this model acts as a highly practical, step-by-step architectural blueprint for building your research house. Swales realized that academia is essentially a really crowded neighborhood. When you write a paper, you're actually entering 2 fierce competitions. First up, the competition to create a rhetorical space. That means you have to prove there's actually room for your new idea among all the existing research. Second is the competition to attract readers into that space. Basically, you got to convince them your new house on the block is actually worth visiting. So how do we actually win those 2 competitions? Well, Swales broke it down into 3 specific actionable moves. Number 1, establish a territory. Number 2, establish a niche. And number 3, occupy that niche. By following these 3 steps sequentially, you logically guide your reader from the really broad, general landscape right up to the front door of your specific research project. Moving right along to Section 2, Move 1, claiming territory, establishing the situation. Okay. Think about it like this. Before you can build a house, you have to survey the land. In this first move, your job is to lay the groundwork. You need to demonstrate that the general research area you're looking at is important, critical, or maybe even problematic. This is where you bring up the existing literature. Now, to be clear, you aren't doing a massive, exhaustive literature review here. Instead, you're just synthesizing key sources of prior research to show the current state of knowledge. You're basically pointing out the major landmarks in the area to prove, hey, this is a neighborhood worth investing in. To translate all this academic jargon into plain English, Move 1 simply means you're taking the reader for a drive through the neighborhood. You're pointing out the beautiful houses other researchers have already built, and then you gently tap the brakes as you point out an overgrown, empty lot. You're showing them the broader context before you zoom in on exactly where you plan to build. Which brings us to Section 3, Move 2, finding a niche, establishing the problem.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that you can't just say, here's a topic and here's my paper. That doesn't work. You must make a cogent argument showing exactly where the current research falls short. How do you find this niche? Well, you might counterclaim an opposing viewpoint, showing why a prevailing argument is a little weak. You might indicate a specific gap where literally no one has looked yet. You might raise a brand new question, or you might choose to logically extend previous knowledge into a whole new domain. Whichever path you choose, you're proving that the empty lot desperately needs a new house.
Let's look at exactly what this looks like in practice. A really great way to execute Move 2 is through question raising. For example, you might write, despite prior observations of voter behavior in local elections in Detroit, it remains unclear why. Do you see what happened there? It's kind of brilliant. The first half of the sentence acknowledges the existing neighborhood, the prior observations. And the second half? It highlights the empty lot, what remains unclear. It creates an immediate need for your specific research. All right, Section 4, Move 3, occupying the space, establishing the solution. You've surveyed the neighborhood, you've pointed out the empty lot, and now it's time to build your house.
Occupying the niche is where you announce exactly how your study will contribute new knowledge and solve that problem you just identified. Here, you're going to outline the clear objectives of your study. You'll announce what your present research is actually going to accomplish. In a lot of fields, you might even provide a brief summary of your principal findings right away. And finally, you'll map out how the rest of the paper is structured, so the reader knows exactly what to expect in the upcoming rooms of your new house.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from this third move, ask yourself this one challenging question. Does your introduction answer the so what question? You see, outlining your purpose isn't just some boring box-checking exercise. It is your chance to explicitly tell the reader why they should care about the time they're about to spend reading your paper. If you don't answer so what clearly, you risk losing your reader right at the front door. Now for Section 5. Pro tip: neutral, contrasting, building without demolishing. Notice the incredible power of your vocabulary choices when you're establishing your niche. To create a gap, authors often rely on contrast vocabulary. Look at these verbs, words like fail, ignore, lack, overlook, or misinterpret. Or they use adjectives like dubious, inadequate, unreliable, unconvincing, or uncertain. These words draw a massive, bright line between the perceived deficiencies in past studies and the heroic new research you're bringing to the table. But hold on, there is a trap here. It can be super tempting to adopt a highly negative stance to make your own work look better, essentially diminishing the validity of other people's hard work. But remember our metaphor? You don't need to bulldoze the entire neighborhood just to build your own house. The most professional academic writers use a neutral stance. They express their new perspective and carve out their space while still fully respecting the ongoing contributions of the scholars who came before them. Here are some incredibly practical plug-and-play examples of how to achieve this neutral tone. Instead of saying past researchers failed entirely, you can say prior research has focused primarily on A rather than on B. Or, while prior studies have examined A, it may be preferable to contemplate the impact of B. I mean, these sentences are almost magical. They smoothly pivot the reader's attention to your new variable without ever devaluing the older research. It's professional, it's contrastive, and it perfectly sets up your own study. And just like that, the blank page doesn't look so terrifying anymore, does it? You have the CARS blueprint. You know exactly how to claim your territory, find your niche, and occupy that space with purpose and respect. You are fully equipped to guide your reader right into your intellectual neighborhood. So the only question left to answer is, are you ready to stake your claim? What research space are you going to create today?